Hi, welcome to a new episode of Sportsy, Let's Talk Sports. Today we have with us a seasoned business leader who is a sports fan turned sports evangelist, Raman Raheja. Being one of the first generation professional in the live entertainment industry in India, Raman has worked with some of the India's most respected marketing services agencies and on some of the biggest live events that has happened in India. Raman has worked with Wizcraft, HT Media, among the others. He has worked on IIFA Awards, Commonwealth Games, Michael Jackson concert, IPL, etc. Having been part of Commonwealth Game in 2010, IPL, as well as the Kabaddi World Cup, he saw himself playing a noteworthy role in the development of sports revolution in India. And Raman ventured into the business of sports while chasing his dream. Conceptualized, created, and promoted indigenous sports of Kabaddi with the launch of World Kabaddi League as a founder and a CEO. It was the start of Kabaddi revolution in India. He was instrumental in setting up the business of sports and the SportsFlashes. What started as an idea of creating unique content around sports has turned out to be the leading sports media and tech company that owns India's first 24/7 sports radio channel. Leading sports media and tech company that owns India's first 24/7 sports radio, which now also world's biggest sports radio on internet. So please welcome a sports fan turned sports evangelist, founder of Legends League Cricket, Raman Raheja. Hi, Raman. It's great to have you on Sportsy, Let's Talk Sports. And it's when we say Let's Talk Sports, I think it's great to hear from people like you who have a great journey in the Indian sports industry and making a change. So it's great to have you on a platform.
Pleasure is all mine, Sid. It's always good to chat with exponents from the sports industry, and you yourself been there. So happy to be on this channel and share a few views about mine and share the journey.
Yeah, and we want to hear the journey because the journey is about a sports fan turned sports evangelist. And just for the viewers and listeners of the channel, we have Raman, who is now recently is the founder of Legends League Cricket. It's a T20 tournament for the legends of cricket. But before that, there's more than 2 decades of journey, which is into live entertainment as well as events, from Wizcraft to HT Media, working with Commonwealth Game, and so many things that he has done. And one of the around beyond the events, I think one of the great things that happened about the sports technology, which caught everybody's eye beyond his World Kabaddi League, is SportsFlashes. And we would like to understand the journey from you, Raman, over the next course of 30 minutes. So it's going to be a nice ride for people to listen, because people are looking at making careers in sports and looking at people or leaders, how they can take a cue about where do they grow from where they are. So when I'm just put some words around, as for viewers, it will be great to know your journey from a fan to evangelist, sports fan to sports evangelist.
Well, grew up, watching the cricket and all that stuff that happened around us, primarily cricket, of course. But early days, it was very clearly that I wanted to make a career into the events industry, but I was a sports fan per se, but there was no connection there. So started with Wizcraft, of course, one of the first generation. I was fortunate to be part of the team when Michael Jackson came to India. So seen some of the biggest. And then finally got to be there at Commonwealth Games. I was the producer for the opening ceremony. That was the gala. That's actually when I saw that sports is really picking up very well in our industry. We always used to say Bollywood is the king of content. Everything happens out of Bollywood. But I was seeing that sports actually was really going very well. And cricket, of course, was the key driver on that. But with Commonwealth Games, there are other things that started to pick up, and I saw that opportunity to be able to do that. So what I have done in the last few years has been primarily, I see sports as content. I see sports as content which can be consumed if packaged right, even if it is non-cricket. That's how Kabaddi happened. So you package a particular sport, make it a prime time viewing for television audience where family can sit in the drawing rooms. That was the whole idea. I learned it all out of my Wizcraft days when we was packaged IIFA Awards. We made it a different look and feel than what film awards were. So the entertainment journey, the industry that I belong to or come from, helped me understand the content business, and that's what I always try to do with the sport. So 2013, when I moved out and from the entertainment industry and I set up the Kabaddi League, the World Kabaddi, clearly the focus was to look at non-cricketing sports and try and bring them on a prime time viewing. We were successful, very successful on that space. Kabaddi has now become one of the most watched sports. Thereafter, after season 1 of World Kabaddi, I moved out and I saw the opportunity that sports content, if packaged right, will be consumed. So I wanted to build a platform which would put up sports content to the audience the way they wanted. An audience of 130 crore people in India, not a single sports radio channel. And that's how I saw the opportunity. And I set up SportsFlashes, which was the first and the only sports radio of India. And there, the journey was fantastic. We really grew. We became partners of BCCI, ICC, Cricket Australia, Cricket West Indies, the name it. And, so we brought that English Premier League on the audio side of it. So while everybody was running after the television, the video content, we built a niche for ourselves by making that audio content as a prime offering. It was a great start, a great journey. Of course, everything comes to a point where you got to do a return on investments to it. So it was a happy exit for me. This was then merged with the ITV, Independent Television Networks, which run 13 news channels. So now I'm not part of an executive role there, not an active role. I'm still a shareholder as part of the thing. So I had my time, and that's when I saw that there is so much happening in cricket space. It was fantastic that the way India is driving the cricket economy of the world. So much of numbers happening out of India. The fan base is large, and also what happened was that cricket became an expensive proposition. So the brands who had aspirations to use cricket as a vehicle were not able actually to buy it at a price which they could afford. That's how the opportunity for me happened, and we set up Legends as an option for me. So, to keep that a little short. So, that's the journey there.
I think, it's a journey that anybody wants to come into sports industry would like to follow and admire for sure. So while you spoke about everything, I just want to take a step back about from IIFA to Michael Jackson event and everything, Wizcraft to Commonwealth and the World Kabaddi League. And from there, we understood how the Legends League cricket started. As a management expert or who's been a driving seat for making this happen, what are the learnings for you as a management executive, which probably the viewers or listeners are a lot of management students, MBA sports management students, which is the upcoming field in India, and people want to understand that how do we look at things differently? Is the IIFA event is similar to a Commonwealth event, or how do you, and also how do you look at the P&L? Because you spoke about ROI. And we always struggle about making a sporting event effective or profitable. So how do you look at that proposition?
So Sid, honestly, it all boils down to bottom lines, and everybody looks at bottom lines eventually. Bottom lines could only happen if you see the top line in the right way. When we created IIFA Awards, it was an award night, and there was a Filmfare Awards, or there were other Zee Awards and all of that, which were there for about 30 years plus when first IIFA was launched. But how it was packaged was that it created a differentiator. It actually exported Bollywood out of India. That was a differentiator. No content was different. It exported Bollywood out of India. And there were foreign audiences who were willing to lap it up and support that into this. So, which is where we saw this whole opportunity of packaging the sports content in a right way. And exactly what I'm trying to do with the sports business. So not that I'm reinventing the wheel. We're not doing anything new. We're just packaging the whole thing in a way which people would like to consume. So that's what happened with Kabaddi. Kabaddi has been there for 400 years. And I remember when I first built up the Kabaddi deck, we didn't have photographs to put into the deck, high resolution photographs. Forget about reaching out to an audience to be able to sell that to either a franchise model. There were nothing. I mean, us, the World Kabaddi League and the Pro Kabaddi faced the same challenge because we were operating at the same time. But we just tried to put the sport as from a television perspective. That what I learned out of IIFA, what looks good on television is what people want to consume. And a sport like Kabaddi, some 400, actually 800 years ago, we did a research that it all started in Mahabharata with Abhimanyu. Chakravyuh is actually the Kabaddi thing, that's how it all started. Anyways, that's a separate discussion some other time. But this whole thing was created to be consumable content. And that's how you start. So once you build a consumable content, the eyeballs start to happen. Eyeballs start to happen, then the revenue starts to pour in from there, because any brand, any sponsors would like to see the eyeballs, and there has to be integrations. It not necessarily be just about awareness about a brand. You bring in, you integrate the content into it, and that's how cricket has been instrumental. So the unique thing about cricket and why cricket sells over other sports in India is primarily because of the format of cricket. 1 over, and you have then a break before the second over starts. You bring in a commercial time, unlike a football, it doesn't happen. So that's where the cricket's uniqueness is. And then, of course, the modern age cricket has brought in so much more with integrations onto the ground, field, pitch mats, wickets, graphics in the thing. So it's all about packaging. So I would not say that we as managers, as administrative people, or I would say, in the sports entrepreneurs, we don't need to see different or invent new things. We got to just see on how the current things are and how we can make it viable or business case out of that and make this workable. I mean, there are hundreds of leagues that have come in ever since IPL or the first league, but only a few have survived. There's a reason for that. The reason is that it's not about passion alone. While, of course, passion drives that first thing, but it's also about that business sense to be able to make it a viable product. And that's where the leagues which have survived only primarily because they've been able to create business cases around it. That's the most important thing. You need to make it a viable business case. And the viable business case would only happen if it's a consumable, viable content, and then you bring on integrations with brands and sponsorships into it.
I think very well put in. This is like a punchline about make a viable product, good packaging, and people want to consume it. And I'm sure we are moving from a one sport nation to a multi-sport nation where these things can start getting into at a grassroots level, where more and more kids also get visibility, and from that, I think the pyramid gets built for India, which is going to be a sustainable model. On the sustainable model, my next question is, you had experience working with the traditional radio, and from there you actually took a plunge into the sports technology field, which is never heard of, and making an internet radio only for sports. Yes, there have been internet radios in the US. While I was there were internet radios were there, but getting it for sports. And that was something that we talk about the 60s and 70s when we used to hear, not I was born, but people used to listen to the commentary on radio, and they used to have amazing flow of it. I think the similar experience with the new age that you got with the SportsFlashes. What were the biggest challenges? Because when you got it, the internet wasn't that great in India. Even we were still 2G to 3G kind of migration. Those challenges were there. At the same time, the traditional radio was also playing a big role in what they were doing, but they moved away from regular news commentary, which was only happening on probably the AIM, that for cricket. So how did you actually package this as a SportsFlashes, and how much time did it actually take from conceptualization to actually making it something that people remember and people go by?
Yeah, so SportsFlashes was not an overnight idea. SportsFlashes evolved. We started as a news platform, but then there were multiple other news platforms, and then we, because I was an outsider, I came from entertainment industry. I kind of spent a little time understanding the sports ecosystem and how the business works. So we started in 2016. For the first 1.5, 2 years, we spent times in getting into that space of sports news and content, which was free. Thereafter, I actually saw that while there was cricket, which was on radio only in the form of live commentaries, none of the other sports ever got a chance to be there, because only channel on radio which was able to put up was the All India Radio, for some legal aspects to it, which actually dived deeper into it, that why nobody else got into the sports radio piece. it was a gray area where private channels were restricted to put up news or current affairs. It still is a gray area,
Yeah.
but there was no such restriction on the digital side of the radio. But I thought that was one opportunity that probably nobody saw at that time, and I just picked it up. That if we turn the digital platforms with an audio side of the sports, not just restricted to cricket. In fact, we started with football first. So we acquired the rights of English Premier League first before we got into cricket. So the whole idea was that mobile phones are the second screens, were the second screens. And with this geo revolution that happened, the 4G revolution, it was only going to grow. So we just got into that particular space by trying to bring in mobile screens as the consumer's second screen. While they watch TV, they can actually want to listen to an audio commentary in their language, which could be in their style in different ways, and engage with fans. Or while they're not able to watch TV, they can, instead of just having a scorecard on their desktop, which multiple other cricket platforms were doing, they could have both. So have a scorecard as well as an audio feed. It gives in more, sync in the live part of it. So they may not be able to watch it, but they would be able to do, because video was still growing on that technology. So the Hotstars of the world, there were issues at that time. So audio was a lighter platform, so it was easy for us to put that up. So that's how I saw the opportunity. Challenges were, of course, there. When you're the first one, you face those challenges. Will that be bikega ke nahi, content hoga ke nahi? So we face those challenges. But I think when you get through those challenges, you find solutions within themselves, and we were able to find that solution. And we became world's biggest sports radio. In terms of our reach, we became world's biggest sports radio because India drives numbers. And I saw that as a thing, so we were able to establish that ourselves. We had offers at that point of time, to bring in best of the brands to get integrated. We used some of the best cricketing talents to be on the radio commentary. Unlike the All India radio where the mundane stuff used to happen, we brought in Sunil Gavaskar, Harsha Bhogle, and all of those people to be on commentary teams. And we made a mark for ourselves through that. But yeah, I mean, that was then, and things have evolved ever since that. So yeah, it's only growing.
Nice. And probably I think you were the first one who gave a concept to ICC or BCCI about having a digital radio as an additional revenue stream, potentially, right? It is, we used to see that in the English summer where people used to go sit with those things earlier. But I think the new stream of not traditional radio, not traditional television, it is the internet radio, which I think probably being the pioneer. And great. So and again, these things that we've been talking about just shows that okay, this is like honestly, the listeners, viewers, even for people like me, this is like having a masterclass about how do you think, how do you package, how do you make things happen. And that's something which is really exciting, which you are making it happen right now, and we are just going to see it in few days, getting it kicked off in Oman. And that is Legendary Cricket. It looks amazing, and it's like it's 80s and 90s kids, right? So it is, we always, for us, we still talk about Kapil Dev, we still talk about Kumble, and we still talk about Lara, and that's the generation. We even how much your IPL that you see, those legends will always be legend. Everybody else becomes the players or the athletes. So how do you think while that T10, T20s, everything is flooded everywhere, as well as the older generation athletes are taking early retirement. So which is also probably a good proposition in the whole sense. But there was something which came in the lines of for all the retired cricketers earlier as well. How do you saw a business opportunity, and is there only a business side to it, or you actually feel that there's a nice emotional connect, taking it from 80s, 90s to now?
Actually, it started with the emotional connect, to be very honest and fair.
I thought as much.
So the fans that we all have been, we've heard stories from our older generations about how cricket used to be. But the fans that we've been, we watched the ODIs, and all of those things happened and evolved and all of it. But if you actually go back, those cricketers that we are talking about literally had very restricted play on the T20s. And the modern cricket has evolved. evolved very fast and how. But if you actually see, there aren't many big rivalries the way it used to be in the times when I'm talking about 10, 12, 15 years ago. Rivalries like Akhtar versus Sachin, or Shoaib versus Sehwag, or Brett Lee versus Peterson. So those rivalries been really big. In today's times, those rivalries are missing. I mean, for nothing else, but maybe to do with the way cricket is growing fast, that all of these different format cricketers playing different styles, and so that's how it is growing. But yeah, so I saw that as an opportunity where we could recreate those rivalries and do not an exhibition match. So this is about competitive cricket. So we spent some 6-7 months into this preparation of this concept, that how do we really make this into a watchable televised product, and the fans, and actually the audience that we bring onto the board, the players that we have already signed up by themselves have got 400 million followers for themselves, which actually is a very large audience. So if we put those together, those fans are the ones which is my direct audience. And when we do all of those as a starting point, it only helps me build a product which is as good as what we are doing now. So the whole business idea turned from a opportunity of how a fan would like to engage with his legends, his icons, and all that stuff. And then we turned that into a business that, if we can have competitive cricket, not exhibition cricket. Exhibition cricket won't have sustainability. It's only competitive cricket. So some of those cricketers, as you pointed out, are retiring early, primarily because so much is happening that active cricket requires extreme levels of fitness, which a younger cricketer can possibly extend. So the moment you touch the 35, 37s, you may not be able to match that kind of a physical fitness. That's where you kind of lose out, not be part of the national teams. And that's when you have this opportunity. If you want to be a part of a, not really a national team, but a representation of a national team, is what we're trying to build. That's the whole concept of Legends League cricket. So we have a tri-nation format, India, Asia, and the world. And that's what we build as this whole concept around it. So yes, there is fan, then the business angle to it. Business angle, of course, is, as I said, 400 million fans straight away. It gives me a great start. But having said that, there are challenges that we are facing. The physical fitness of these players, who has to be really good to be able to make it to competitive cricket, last that duration 10 matches and all of that. So yep, that's basically how it is going.
Yeah, and I think this exactly fits into your tagline, right? The sports fan comes sports evangelist. I think the fan of a 90s and early 2000s people retiring early and still getting to get those people together and coming out with a business, and it starts with emotion. I think that's the fundamental of it. That starts with the emotion. And when we talk about emotions, I think the Legends League cricket has legends of legend Amitabh Bachchan as your brand ambassador. I think that also is not small by any small feat. It's by any small mean. It's not a small feat. It's a great thing. And recently you signed Sony as your broadcasting partner. So where do you see LLC with 10, 12, 15 matches, or year on year, or it could be 6 years, every 6 months kind of thing. It could be any kind of format. Where do you see actually this going? And how do you see the inflow and outflow of the athletes to keep the entertainment and the enticing part for the fans going?
So, when we signed up Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, the idea was to look at a legend who comes from a non-cricketing, non-sporting background, but stands for that word legend. There's no bigger legend than in India, So that was the whole idea. So no, nobody can challenge that particular space. So we signed him up with the primary thing that we didn't want the legends to be the faces there, because they are playing. They're icons, So instead of having one of them, assuming a Sachin or a Sehwag or somebody else, we would want them to play instead, and then have somebody else become the face of the league. And that's what we signed up. So what we're doing now is, that's the space that we want to own. But we want these cricketers to be seen twice over onto the cricket field. They're seen in commentary boxes and newsrooms and all of that. The whole ecosystem needs to be created, and that's what we're going to be doing. So we play twice over in a year. The seasons are going to be 2 seasons in a year. January now, and then September a repeat. And thereafter, every year we will be hosting twice. The season would be 2 times in a year. which makes the business sense for any brands to associate that it's not one-off. It happens twice. So there's a high recall that's created within the year. Because we are competing in a way. In a way, we are competing with active cricket. Though we complement it on the other side, but in a way, we are competing. So what I spoke a little earlier in my conversation, make it a viable thing. So the cost for acquiring an association with such kind of a format is lower than what they do with active cricket. That's the game plan for us. That's the way we are trying to bring. Cricket is a religion. You will still consume cricket. And if it is cost-effective cricket opportunity, we would have the brands to associate. And that's how you make it sustainable. The moment I will have brands, sustainability becomes an easy thing. So what we see next is that we will get into a franchise model as we go along. Right now, there are no franchises. They're playing for a country and nations, but thereafter we get into the franchise model as well as we go into the future.
I think that will be a great way. And I think the way starting India, Asia, and rest of the world, I think you're talking about India and Asia itself is more than almost 50% of the world that the viewership that we get into, and the rest of the world is also. I think it's a great model, and franchisee will be great. Again, as a student of sports that I call myself, is I think there is a potential because the inflow and outflow is going to be a consistent stream, and that can help you maintain the quality and not feel like a charity match. I think that is going to be great. So I'm coming to the last part of the chat. The next just a couple of questions. Now I want to talk about an evangelist. As an evangelist, what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night actually is the problems that I see during the day. Yeah. So actually, by the end of the day, I look at the problems that I'm facing during the particular day, at the challenges on hand. I mull over it. In my own way, I sleep over the problems and I then come out with a solution in the morning. That's the way how I see not just this business and any business that I've been associated with in the past. So in the nighttime, I kind of put all of those things together on what I need to address the next day. In the morning, I come up with certain solutions and address those issues. Also, what keeps you up, in going all this way is that you thrive for perfection. That you look at all things that you're doing and analyze all those shortcomings that may have happened in your execution for a particular project or a product or anything that you're doing, and then you next day onwards restart with the learning from the past on what you've not been able to do, add that up into the next day, and try and redo it or build the next one with all of those new energies onto it. That's how I see any of those businesses that I've been doing all this while.
Nice. I think, it's no, that I think you spoke about the challenges that keeps you awake and what next can be done and how do you actually evolve the whole ecosystem. That is so good. And just on the closing statement, there are so many entrepreneurs that the industry is so new that we say the sports industry is like it's a rising industry that you get to work in the sunrise industry. So as anybody, entrepreneurs or management people who want to make a career out of it, what is your message or what's your advice to them towards building their career and taking it to the next level?
Well, one of the most important things that I would just want to say, especially on the entrepreneurs front, is it's only the never say die attitude that can make it work for you. So you face your challenges, you let go of those opportunities. If you fail on certain things, you let go of those opportunities, as you may not be able to do it, it's your loss. If you have a never say die is the one when you will be able to succeed and live up to your dreams which you have. So in terms of the specific to the sports industry, sports is really growing very fast and it's really becoming one of the most watched content in India. I mean, outside of course cricket as well. So it's right about not that it's something new. It's been there for all the time, all this while. It's just about now the consumption is happening in digital format, the screens. The packaging of the content around sports has to be done that can be consumed through those platforms. That's the way to see this business.
Correct.
Any form of any sports business related, anything related to that, I would say look at it from that digital perspective to be able to make it consumable. That's the only mantra that I have. So for me, more than anything else, it is about consumption of that content is what's going to drive it. So see it from the viewer side first, instead of being a doer side first. That's the way to put it up.
I think that is the perfect quote, because people end up doing what they want to do rather than what people want to see or consume. It's a great thing. And Raman, I know the chat can have a long chat in master classes, but I think this is the start. And we want to have more and more chats with you, and wish you all the best for Legends.
Thank you so much.
It looks amazing as a package, and looking forward to the kickoff in Oman in a few days from now. Wish you all the best, and take care and stay safe.
Pleasure is all mine. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, and thank you for sharing. But please do subscribe to our channel Sportsy Says and help us spread the word about Sportsy. We go with the same handle Sportsy Says across all the social media platforms and podcasts.